of COVID. Of those 5 things, they're equally important, but the communications piece spans all the others. And we really ramped up how we communicate with each other using technology. We're actually more effective as an organization in a lot of places than we were before. And we operate more efficiently, and we keep getting better at it every week by we use Microsoft Teams. And to be honest, I love it. I'm watching the time, so I probably should stop, Jenny, and let you ask some questions or take some questions from the audience, because you know I can go on and on about this.
I figured that. I really appreciate what you were talking about with the 5 areas of focus, and the one that I think you're right. Everybody that I'm talking to says the communication has been the most important, and what we had to do was adapt our communication styles in order to make that work. I know that when we started this, I would do a lot of Zoom calls, but I wouldn't necessarily do the face-to-face because I didn't feel like putting on makeup and doing my hair. But you did a great job with your hair today, Brian.
Well, thank you. I've worked hard at that. You know, that's 4 or 5 times a week I actually shave it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be like Dr. Don, Dr. Russ Barnes.
Well, he certainly has a great look. And Maureen, it's probably been a challenge that for both of you to be home at once, but at the same time, it's like, well, we could do more things. And I think I had to eat healthy because it's harder to go out to fast food if you're not going to be in the car. And we would have discussions about, well, what if they touch something and you get it? So tell me a little bit, Maureen, about how it's helped you to adapt in the company. Take yourself off mute.
I'll go to mute so she can come off. So.
Yeah, we're in the same room. So using Microsoft Teams has really helped us collaborate better. We can quickly get a group of people in a meeting so that we can work together. We can pull up documents, look at them on our own monitors in our own space. So we've had a lot of things that have helped us collaborate and move us forward in areas that we've been working on before this happened. We're moving a little bit faster in some of those areas because of the way we're able to work. And we're eating lots of vegetables. And one other thing that we're doing with our Microsoft Teams, when our team members went home, we had them sign a telework agreement. And one of the items they agreed to was to be on video. And part of that was not just to force them to put on their makeup or comb their hair. We want to see them, and we want to make sure that they're doing okay and look them in the eye. So everyone has complied with that, and it's really good for our mental health to see people and to interact that way.
Well, so much of what you're talking about is discipline and practice and that type of stuff. And I know that a lot of the people that are on the call are veterans, and it's like get up, make your bed, and those type of things. I think the other thing that I thought was interesting was listening to the environment. What's going on, and who do you listen to? And has it been difficult, Brian, for you to reach some of your counterparts that are customers? Or are you communicating differently with them as well?
Yeah, so I believe that you have to communicate with people, especially customers, the way they want to be communicated with. You can offer thoughts, advice, and counsel, but if a person is used to getting your text message, don't force them to go to a Zoom. Listen to that particular client and communicate with them the way they need to be communicated with. If that person is you know they get up early and they're at the office early, then you ought to be calling them early. So you have to, and I stress that over and over with our team, is we can't do blanket communication. We have to communicate in a way that the receiver receives it.
Well, I think you're absolutely right about that. And I know I've had a lot of discussions during this time with Russ Barnes about how you can take a look at your business and what you need to adapt to, because Russ is the strategy guy and he's been so much help to me this year. Hey, Russ, what other things are you seeing people do? I thought it was really important when Brian was talking about how do you not be paralyzed? And I think the military leadership is really good about having decision structure, and that seems to be what you also incorporate.
Yeah, there's such a high level of uncertainty right now in the community among our small business owners. And, Brian, you're a brilliant, strategic thinker, and much of that I'm sure has developed over the years. And, a lot of my strategic strength has come from having served at higher headquarters, a lot of joint work, Central Command, European Command, the Pentagon, and so forth. But what about the small business owner who is a one-person shop and doesn't have that strategy experience and background? And so what I'm seeing from them is a high level of concern. I won't say fear or panic because it's not at that level, but it's a concern about, well, what am I going to do when this reopens and I have to try to ramp back up again? And now all of a sudden I have all of this debt or that I've picked up. How do I manage all that stuff? So, so 2 weeks from now, we'll have a chance to talk about, the mission mapping framework that I use to help them to see, because it's a matter, once you can see what things look like moving forward, you can then make those better decisions. And so, so that's kind of what I'm seeing, that uncertainty.
Well, thanks, Russ, for that. And Brian, I think that one of the other things that I heard you say is when you saw this coming, and basically implemented a pandemic plan based on what you had written before in the past. I'm sure you never expected that. How was it to keep your employees' questions answered and make them feel like they were being taken care of as well? Because I know, having visited your office with the interactive whiteboards and everybody dresses up for Halloween and all the things that you do to keep your VISTRA corporate culture going, they were absolutely looking to you and others in your company for the leadership. So how did your employees react? Did you have challenges for specific groups of employees that you hadn't anticipated?
Well, first of all, Jenny, early on I said some people are going to get it right away. Some people will be afraid. Some people will be, almost paralyzed. And it kind of worked out like that. But I felt it was my job to find ways to communicate and find ways to ensure we kept some sense of norm through all of it, because that's what people are used to. So that's why when we developed the policy, we developed our internal policy that said, you have to be on Teams video or take PTO. So it's basically non-negotiable. And what that has meant is people are seeing each other. They're seeing each other's pets. They're having more conversation about things that are important to each other and getting our client work done. So for the most part, and there are times when people don't come on, but for the most part, people are really coming on, and they're receiving it. The other thing we did, Jenny, is we have a weekly call across the enterprise at noon on Fridays. And I said, I'm going to do something. I'm going to pull a playbook out of the Army. So I have a commander's update literally on Friday at noon, 10 to 15 minutes. And we end that call with our company chaplain saying a prayer. So we let people know that we're going to do that. And if they choose not to be on there, or they choose not, it's totally voluntary, or they choose to get off before prayer time, that's up to them. Nobody gets off. Think about that. Today we had it. I think we had over 40 people from the company participate. Our company chaplain is my dad, by the way, and has been with our company and a part of everything we do. The other thing we do is on Thursday mornings at between 8:30 to usually 9. This week I let it go for an hour. We have coffee time. So we have a virtual cup of coffee. Bring your own coffee and your cup. And I do not set an agenda. I let people talk about whatever is on their minds. Sometimes, Jeannie, it's about their pets, but they get to share that with each other. Occasionally, somebody will ask a really focused business question, but that's probably less than 10% of the time. It's usually about the other aspects of their life. That's been so important to everybody to be a part of that. So it's those kinds of things. Last night, I did I don't know, lots of people are doing this. We did a happy hour with just our Northern Virginia team. And it was really, really powerful. And they've already asked to do another one soon. So we continue to find some of those places of norm to keep people engaged and a part of everything that we're doing.
Well, this talk makes me think about some of the things that Emily Harmon and I have talked about authentic leadership. And also about allowing people to be vulnerable. In the past, when I was working at a regular corporate job, I never wanted people to know that I had twins or that I had anything. It's like we were all supposed to just act like everything was always perfect. And I think what we've learned from this is if we can trust each other in these situations, we can start being more real at work and hiding less of our talent and our value by saying, this is something I care about. Emily, would you like to talk a little bit about authentic leadership and also about how you've seen it kind of evolve?
Well, that's something that I'm really passionate about. I mean, initially when I first retired from the Navy, I started the Onward podcast, which is about just having authentic conversations with different people that I know about how they face adversity in their life and how they move forward. In order to have those conversations, you've got to be vulnerable and authentic. And just recently, I participated in a challenge where what they were talking about is that in order to really, they were talking about how to establish a movement. So I decided to start establishing the Onward Movement. And right now it's just a Facebook group that you have to request to join. There's over 500 people in that group. And the goal is to have at least 10,000 people in that group where it's a safe place to share and to be authentic. And we're having tough discussions on like, well, what does it mean to be authentic? And what if I'm authentic at work? Like someone posted today that she's trying to be authentic at work and her managers told her that comes across as not professional. So, you know, how do we have those discussions? We're having a kind of like a book club discussion on Zoom off of the Onward Facebook group page, where we're going to be discussing Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. So we're having discussions about what it's like to be, what it means to be a vulnerable leader, what vulnerability means, things like that. So I'd really like to attract, a lot of the people in the group are my age, 56, 57 and older, and we have a lot of good information that I think that we can share. We're all learning. One of our values is continuous learning, and I'm hoping to get more younger people in, because I was thinking to myself, if I had a group like this that I could go to when I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and share how I'm unsure of myself and get some confidence, how much it would really help. So that's what we're doing.
Well, I'm so glad you talk about that, because there are things that I'm just now learning that if I had learned this 10 years ago, I could have really done a lot more with it. But at the same time, I have to recognize here's where we are. One of the last things that I wanted to do is go ahead and let Brian wrap up by telling us a little bit about CEOs in school, because this is another way that you, through your VISTRA and your own service and your commitment to your community, are really making a difference. And how are you staying engaged with that program, by the way, Brian?
The program will occur this fall. So I volunteer in Mort Elementary School and have been for several years, and I'm the CEO mentor to the principal. And the short version is one day after spending a couple hours in there, I went to the principal and asked, could I spend a whole day? So I spent a whole day in the school, and I left there on fire, really understanding some things that I really hadn't understood before. And we went back and we developed a program that we would hope that would put a CEO in each of our elementary schools, that's 170, to spend a full day in a school to just help out in various places. And we were able to pull that off last year. We on October, I think 18th of 2019, we had a CEO in each of our elementary schools. And it's been so impactful, because those CEOs, as I knew what they would, once they go in and identify a problem, they're going to go in and try to help fix it. So it's built some great relationships between the school district and the schools and the businesses of this community. And we're already we're planning now for it to happen in the fall of this year.
Well, I just think it's an amazing program and such a great level of commitment, and you've inspired other people to be a part of it. So let me just wrap up with having Todd Tukey, who's with Bassberry Sims, one of our sponsors, just kind of talk a little bit about what you're seeing out in the legal world, because I think that's always something that people are concerned about. What do we have to be worried about moving forward and taking care or not taking care of our employees? What do you think, Todd?
Well, we're in this unprecedented time, and we're focusing a lot of attention on the CARES Act and many companies who are reconsidering what they've done. So there really is no right answer. And when it comes to employees, just continuing to monitor developments. We have a blog that we keep up to date. and just staying on top of things. And Todd Overman will be discussing it in more detail. I'm on the business side, so you don't want legal advice coming from me.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, everybody, thanks so much for being a part of this. I'll be transcribing and putting this out on YouTube and then out on LinkedIn, but it's been great to have everybody join us today, and looking forward to our next one. Gabriel Ruiz with Advanced IT Concepts in Orlando is going to be on our next one. His big thing is he kind of has his own hive of people that he takes care of, and that's how I got up with him. And then Russ Barnes is going to do a session on mission mapping on May 22nd. On May 29th, Emily Harmon will be talking about authentic leadership. We've already mentioned Todd Overman. I've got Michael Roseo, who's with a group called Red Horse, talking about teaming and relationships. Judy Bratt, a couple others that are coming on. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and y'all have a great weekend.
You too as well. And happy Mother's Day.